Okay, so as you see at the top of my screen, we have a new website that you'll need to go to start your data imports. I, yes, I know it is massive. There's no way you'll ever remember it. I can't remember it. So what I'll do is email you a link that has this web address in it, so you can just click it, set yourself a bookmark, a favorite, a shortcut, whatever's easiest for you, so that you'll be able to easily access Elite. If you'll notice, it's a little less busy than before. You've got just username, password, sign in, and then if you had never noticed it before, something you had in FireBridge that you'll still have is the forgotten password link. So if you forget your password, you can click this forgotten password link. It's going to ask you for your username, your last name, and your email address. That will need to be the email address that's in your user profile within Elite. It will email you a temporary password, and then that password must be copied and pasted to this login screen. And then once you get in, it will force you to create a new password. So just be aware that you can do that, but I found out this morning it is currently broken. They have escalated the task to get that fixed, so that should not be an issue moving forward. The username and password that you are currently using in FireBridge is going to be the same username and password that you will use for Elite. Currently, all of you will probably be locked out of the system just because we migrated the users over more than 60 days ago, and it's the same thing, the same rules with your login as it was with FireBridge, that after 60 days, if you don't log in, you get locked out. So since none of you have logged in the last 60 days, your account is locked. But I will go ahead, since you're on this training today, I will get you unlocked before it's time for you to do your first import. While I'm on that subject, there is an issue. It's a defect in the import process that I just found out this morning, that what's causing it. So we're going to ask you not to import any data into Elite until September. If the issue gets corrected prior to that, I will let you know if you want to go ahead and start doing your data imports. But as of right now, we would ask you not to import until September. And I'll try to send out a reminder of that closer to time that the issue has been corrected. Just like with FireBridge, and I'm sure any of the systems that you're currently using, you will need to agree to this release form. So just a little bit of what's happened with FireBridge. We just upgraded the system, and the easiest way to get everyone to understand the change is, imagine going to the cell phone store and upgrading your iPhone 5 to a Samsung 10. They do the same thing, they just look a little bit different, they feel a little bit different. Some of the things have new names, so you'll need to you'll have to learn those new names, just a little bit of a learning curve. But all of the information, your contacts, your photos, those kinds of things with your cell phone, the company moves that over for you. We're doing the same thing with Elite. All of your current incident reports will be moved over, your users, all of that. So you won't have to start from scratch with this new system. It's like basically like going and upgrading your cell phone is all we've done. So when you come into the new system, it's called Elite. This will be your dashboard. You may see different things depending on announcements that we put out. Those are all permission driven, and we'll make sure that you have the correct permissions to get into the system. Now, I will go ahead and warn you, for you Firehouse users that potentially will be moving to Elite, the user permissions that you currently have will not be exactly the same as when you get if you were actually using the system. So just be aware that things will be just slightly different just because you're doing data import and other people are actually using the system. We have the flexibility to adjust the settings based on what you need to do in the system. So the rules that apply to your incident reports are going to be the basic standard INFRS incident rules, where we've added some additional validation rules to the fire departments that are actually using FireBridge to enter their run reports. If we didn't use, if we weren't able to do those separate things, we could not add those additional rules, or by doing that, all of your incidents when you imported them would be invalid. So just a little bit of background on that. So getting into the meat of why you're here, to do your import is going to look a little bit different. You'll still create your export file from your third-party software, and then from there you're going to click on your fire department name, and we're still using Data Exchange. Now we're going to click Import File, and it's going to ask you which type. Of course, you want INFRS. And then, just like putting an attachment on an email, where is that file? Once you have that loaded, then you click OK, and the process starts. The process will move a little bit quicker than it has in the past. It's typically processing about 50 records at the time. And you see, you don't have those multiple steps anymore. You're just going to let this run, and when the import's done, it's done. And if you notice the bar going across as we're doing this, I wanted to go ahead and import some data so you could see the whole process. That way, if we have any issues, you'll be able to see what that looks like. So while this runs, I'm going to unmute all of you and see if anyone has any questions. Attendees.
Hey, Tammy.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier, I put this in the chat, but you said we can't import until September, usually in September.
Correct.
Do we not upload run? Do you want us to still upload our runs to FireBridge every month until September, or just not upload it all until September?
Continue uploading to FireBridge until September, and then in September you'll be able to upload to Elite.
Okay.
And I apologize, I was not aware of that date change until this morning. I literally found out this morning that the fix for the problem that we discovered recently will happen at the end of August or very beginning of September. But we already had this scheduled before I found out about this problem.
Okay, so if we decide, our department decides to switch to Elite, prior to that, we can start using it.
Correct.
Would that be?
We trained the fire coordinators this morning. There's a couple of things that we've asked them to do. However, if you are going full, like you're going to abandon whatever it is you're currently using and start using Elite as your records management system, then there's not much that would stop you from starting to do that at any time.
Okay.
Because you don't have data to migrate other than your incident reports. Any migration would be done, you would have to pay ImageTrend to move that from your current system into Elite.
Yes, yes.
Any other questions? Okay, so you can see on the screen now the import is complete. If we look over in this far right column, you'll notice there are messages. If there had been a problem with that import, this message would no longer be grayed out. If you want to look to see if you have any invalid incidents, you should be used to checking this validity score from the incident list. Well, you no longer have to go right to the incident list. You can just go through the list and see if you have any invalid incidents. Apparently, all of these came in no problem, so that's a good sign. What I will tell you about the problem that's happening at this moment is it's a +1 code value. The +1 codes are not coming correctly over, so we're having to correct that. So if you're not using +1 codes and you want to start doing your import, you could actually do that. But if you're using +1 codes in your current system, then you don't want to start putting anything in until that it has been corrected. If you saw a problem with this report and you wanted to take a look at it, you can actually click the link and it will take you straight into that run report so you could find out what's the problem and make that correction. So if you did have, occasionally when you import your data, there's a date-time mismatch and you might have to fix that, then you could click that and that brings you straight into the run report. Now, if you'll notice, the run report looks very different. It's very chunky. I call it fat finger friendly. It could be used on a touch screen without any incident. So if you had a validation error, down at the bottom, this validation score would be less than 100. When you click that, this would give you a list of those validations, and there would be an arrow that pointed to show you, if you clicked it, it would take you right to that area. So before we get off the call, I'll put you into a report that has some validation errors so you can see what they look like. But at this point, you're done. Unless you have any issues with an invalid incident, you're done at this point. It's a lot shorter than what you've had to deal with FireBridge. So just to walk through that process again, you'll log in, click your fire department's name, go to Data Exchange, click Import File, choose Infers, find that file and click OK, and then wait for it to tell you it's done. So any questions on the process?
Looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier than before. The system does all the work for you.
It's a lot easier than what I'm doing.
Yes. So let me put you in the testing department. So for those of you who might be thinking about the switch over and you want to get into the system and dig around in it and see what it looks like, when I email you the link to how to access Elite, I will email you instructions of how to log into our testing department so you can go and poke around in there and see what things look like. That might help you make a decision if you want to switch from whatever you're using to Elite. We're not trying to sell you on that. I just know a lot of you are Firehouse users and some other third-party programs that are about to be forced to make a change, and several of you have asked me about Elite. So this will give you an opportunity to get around in there and dig around and find out what it is you want to know. So this is the testing department. If you notice this incidents tab, it's a little bit confusing. It doesn't just take you to your incidents, it takes you to all of the modules that are available within Elite. So if you were using the locations, occupants, inspections, your training and activities, inventory, and checklist, here's your incident report. Additionally, though, your hydrants, they're not gone. They're just in a weird place. They're under resources. There's your hydrants. But here's the run report. I'm just going to open an existing one. If you had clicked new, it would take, or incident report right there, it would take you straight to a blank run report. So here's the validation issues I was telling you about. These are the problems with the report. If you click that arrow, it takes you straight to that section that it's referencing. And then if you click the arrow of this red tab that sticks out, it tells you what that error is. But it validates in real time. So if you want to, or as you fill things out, it's going to run that validation for you so that you don't have to keep clicking save. It also auto saves as you do all of this. So if you were to exit the report right now, all of these changes would be made and you wouldn't lose anything. With this system, we have the ability, you've got your standard Infers incident report, but we have the ability to add what's called worksheets, and that's what these buttons on the right are. So like our smoke alarm installation form, we've built that into your incident report. Infers recommends that you enter that as an incident, your smoke alarm installations. So you would just go in and do your basic module, your apparatus personnel module, and then we've built our smoke alarm installation form here, even with signature capture. So you can get all of that information, and rather than having to get those forms back to us, we have it instantly as soon as you get out or finished with the form. Additionally, for those of you who are considering moving over, one of the big hiccups we have is you're used to the ePCR within your system. Since we only have the FHIR portion of Image Trends product, we don't have that ePCR. We only have the standard INFRS EMS module that does not collect very much data. So we are worked with our beta department and a couple of surrounding fire departments who provide ALS through the fire service. And we created this EMS worksheet that collects some additional information about your patient care. Without this information does not go to INFRS, so that helps with your HIPAA compliance. It's not sending HIPAA protected information to INFRS, which INFRS would be HIPAA protected anyway. But we tried to make it complex enough that an ALS call could be documented appropriately, but not become so overwhelming that a first responder could not use this. Obviously, a first responder is not doing an IV, so, or maybe not any of these other things, they could just click none. On the other hand, a paramedic might be doing more than what you see here, so you have the option to do an other and add additional items within this text box. As well as the EMS form, we also did a refusal form. So rather than having paper ever in your truck, if you have a tablet that's Wi-Fi or internet enabled, you can get your patient's refusal form with signature capture and a witness right there on the scene, and it becomes a part of that run report. And you can also, like if you had that paper form that you wanted to capture, that you can also attach those to this actual run report. So it all becomes a part of a single report rather than having multiple places to document things. So that's kind of an overview of what does the run report look like. So unless y'all got questions, that's really all I have for you.
That sounds great. I'm interested in getting in there and playing with it. I think I've already seen what I need to see, but I still would like to get in there and mess around and see what I can learn from it.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll try to get it out this afternoon and send out an email to all of you that are on the training that has a link to the actual Elite website and with instructions of how to log into the training department. Again, to get into your actual fire department, you'll use the same username and password that you use to get into FireBridge. Those accounts are currently locked, but I'll try to get those unlocked this afternoon, or at least by the end of the week, just depending on what else I have going on. But you'll be able to get in there hopefully this afternoon if you're ready to get in the testing department.
Sounds good.
All right. Ken's good. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Hearing none, I did see maybe a late joiner. Any questions?
Yes, unfortunately, sorry.
That's okay.
Would this be available as recorded that I could watch it, or is there another one coming up?
Yes, it's actually being recorded, and as soon as I get it recorded and converted to a file, I will load it. So I'll go ahead and show you how to find it. Once you log into the testing department or with your actual login, if you click this resources tab, you'll go to documents. And there's a list of documents that have been loaded into the system. You can access it from your actual department or from the testing department right here. You'll just go in and find that recording and download the file. Rather than trying to stream it, you'll download it and then you can watch it.
Quick question for you, and again, I apologize. I couldn't help coming late. As far as our department that, we don't use the FireBridge other than just we send from our file management system down and send the information over.
Right.
Is that going to change much for us,
No.
transferring it?
So the transfer is very simple. When you log in, you click your department name, data exchange,
Same type
and
of
the
thing.
import
Okay.
file. You'll choose
Okay.
infers and then the file and click OK, and the system takes care of everything from there. Once the file is loaded, it will populate a list of all the incidents that you just imported with that validity score. So rather than having to do all those multiple steps to import and then go check the incident list, it will provide you with that incident list with its validity score. And if it has a validity issue, you can click the incident and it opens in another tab so you can make that correction and then just close that tab, go back to your list and go to the next one.
No, thank you so much, and I apologize if I'm sure you've already covered it.
Yeah, that's okay. That I'm sure a review is not uncalled for. The other thing you missed, and that's a big piece of it, currently there's a defect in the import process that if you are using +1 codes, when you import, it doesn't know what to do with those +1 codes, so it doesn't import that field at all, and that gives you a validation error. That will be fixed at the end of August or beginning of September. So we're asking you not to import anything to Elite until your September import. You'll continue using FireBridge until then. If you're not using +1 codes, you could go ahead and start using Elite if you'd rather do that. That would be up to you. But if you're using those +1 codes, you want to make sure you do not import to Elite until after that release is done at the end of August, 1st of September.
Sounds good. I appreciate it very much.
Okay. Any other questions?
That brings up another question on my behalf.
Okay.
What is a +1 code? How do I know if I'm using +1 codes?
A +1 code would be a code that you would have had to create within your system. For instance, a fire department wants to document incidents where they were assisting an ambulance and the ambulance canceled them on scene. There's no code for that. So you can create a +1 code that would be 321.1 to indicate that was an incident that was canceled on scene rather than an actual EMS call. Because once you get on scene, you have to document the incident. You're not canceled en route. But
Gotcha.
A lot of times those departments are canceled at the scene and they want to capture that. So the ways to do that would be with that +1 code.
Gotcha.
You can do that for a lot of different codes within the system, but usually the incident type or action taken would be the main one people use +1 codes for. Any other questions? All right. If not, then I will let all of you go. That was a short class. Again, if you have any questions, I'll show you one other thing that might be of some assistance to you, especially for those of you who are going to go digging around to explore a little bit more. Under this community tab, you have Help University. This is where you'll find all of the how-tos from ImageTrend itself. These webinars and videos right in the middle, that is where you'll find by topic or by user profile different videos of how do I use that part of the system. So you just click into that and click it, and sometimes it'll have well, that one didn't work, but sometimes it'll have videos. Some of these over on the side will have just how-to guides. So if you're not really finding what it is you're looking for under these videos and webinars, this search bar will help you find the other step-by-step instructions, the written instructions of how to do things. So these are very, very useful as you're learning how to use the system. So if you were looking for something on importing that file, there should be, I'm sure there's a webinar in here that would tell you how to do that. I haven't looked at it, but I'm sure it's there. So, So I will get that email out to you guys this afternoon, or I'll try. And then, as always, if you have any issues that you couldn't find here in the university, please feel free to contact us, and we're happy to help.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much for your time, Tammy.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.